Check my YouTube. Preparing to stream. Okay. Check my YouTube. There we go. Okay. Okay. Are we good?
Yeah.
All right, hold on. Gonna hit record. Okay, I see the problem though.
What's the problem?
Just
Hey, Mark, where's your tripod? Huh? Yeah, go ahead.
There we go. I just turned it off. It should be streaming. So let's see.
Is it on Facebook?
It should be on YouTube. Okay, it's okay. We're good. Hey everyone, we're gonna hit the record. Just a little technical difficulty. Good evening, everyone. It is Michele Bellisari with the Real Estate Reinvention podcast, vlogcast. And today I am super pumped because I've got the one, the only, the fabulous Kristin Stampini in the house.
Hey, how are you?
How are you, friend?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I did a little beach time today, which I needed, a little self-care, and all's good. How are you, Miss Traveler?
Good. I did a podcast earlier today, actually in Fort Lauderdale.
Oh, did you?
My second podcast.
I'm the best podcast.
That's right. You are. I'm very excited.
Yeah, I am too. We've been wanting to get back together for a while. And here's the thing. I've known Kristin for, I don't know how long. Like,
I think
got
since
our license
2000 in, I don't know, a long time.
A long time. A long time. As a matter of fact, Kristin and I really were licensed almost, I think, at that around the same time. We were at the same brokerage, right? Yeah. And we kind of followed each other around, and I love everything that she does. And so we were chatting about a week ago and came up with this game plan. And this is episode 100, by the way, of my podcast, which used to be called In the Hive with Michele B. But we're switching things up, as you know, because branding and changing up, pivoting is what we have to do in this business. So I'm super excited to talk to Kristin tonight. And I think you guys are going to find some great value in her journey from bankruptcy to millionaire through short sale mastery and income diversification. I'm going to give the short bio and then let Kristin just kind of roll. We're going to talk about niches because that's what this podcast is about. And we're going to talk about some other pieces to this because Kristin is just a wealth of information. Around the age of 40, she started her life over, bankrupt and broken. And I remember when we had a conversation about that in Palm Beach. Do you remember that?
Yeah, we were actually at a women's council event, and I told you that I had either just claimed bankruptcy or I was claiming bankruptcy at the time.
Yep, exactly. You had $700 to your name. You moved to Florida with the only person that you knew, your beautiful mom, who is just, we know that she passed away recently and was just an amazing person. And you certainly have her spark and personality, friend. So Kristin got her real estate license and started a niche in the real estate short sale market. And when I tell you this girl's a badass at this, she is a badass at it. And today, 16 years later, she has 16 different types of investments and streams of income. And her income is more than $3.5 million a year. So not only do I just adore Kristin as my friend, but she is an advocate. She's a coach. She truly wants the best from everyone that she meets, that she comes in contact with. That's just how you are. You have a big heart, even though you freaking like Michigan, and we can discuss that.
Well, thank you for the introduction. Michele,
thanks for coming on.
Been a dear friend, one of my very best friends for quite some time, actually, since pretty much since I started in real estate. And she saw me, she saw me through those hard times and through claiming bankruptcy and not having any money. And, when I first moved to Florida, I had run restaurants for 18 years. And I had gone in and worked really hard at, 60 to 80 hours a week running restaurants, either going in as a general manager. I went into some restaurants and turned them around. I started some from the ground up, so I was in that business, which I feel really, really helped me when I did get into the real estate market, or I got into the real estate business, should I say. So when I moved to Florida, I moved here because of my mom, who unfortunately just passed away December 17th of 2022. So it's been, very recent. And she was like, you should get your real estate license. So I started waiting tables at Houston's restaurant in Pompano Beach after being a general manager for many years. So that was, that was a tough journey, but it was the journey I needed to take at the time when I was bankrupt and broken and starting my life over and trying to figure out what my next steps were in life, right? Yeah. So as I pushed back and didn't want to get my real estate license, I actually went to real estate school and didn't take my state exam until the 11th month. They give you 12 months to take it until you have to take I literally waited. Did you too?
I flunked it the first time, and ironically, it was after my mom passed away, and I just was like, I'll get my real estate license, and then I just flunked the hell out of it. Waited 4 years to get it. So yeah, there you go. Yeah.
So you understand. So then, when I did get it, I ended up working as a server at Houston's and working in the real estate, trying to get started in real estate. So I worked both for 2 years. So I worked 80 hours a week. And everything that I was pretty much making at the restaurant, I was putting back into real estate. I got a mentor and coach really quick. And that's Craig Proctor, who I still have today, because he was a marketer. And when I started in real estate, it wasn't like I could ask for referrals or, I didn't know anybody. So it wasn't, I had to build the business, right? And I had to do that by learning how to market. And I learned that through my mentor. So I would work at the restaurant to pay bills and to put it back into real estate marketing and everything else. And I said, what can I do that's different? Because at the time, the market was crashing fast and hard.
Right.
And I'm like, what can I do different? And that's when I was introduced to the CDPE, as some of you guys know. And Alex Sharfin was here in Boca, is where he,
right.
Him and Katie were. And so I was introduced to that, and I thought, okay, let me learn this short sale stuff, because so many people are either struggling as realtors that have been realtors for 20, 30 plus years. And let me figure this out. And the short sale market, the reason why I like short sales is, number one, I had just been going through a rough time myself, right? So I could relate to the people that were losing their homes, and they could feel that I cared, because I really did. I was going through a rough time myself. And it was so different than traditional real estate. So it was where, the people that were successful, I feel the most successful in the short sale market are the ones that really cared about the people and didn't care about the sale as they did about figuring out how to help the people. So I was able to figure out systems and processes and hiring the right people to help me navigate through that short sale marketing, and then using my real estate coach and mentor and figuring the marketing part out to get the real estate short sale deals. Right. So I was at, pretty quickly, I was taking between 15 and 20 listings a month just in short sales.
I remember that.
Yeah. So I was able to hire somebody for calling the banks, because when I hired an attorney to do it, and, they had better things to do than really calling the banks. And, they were getting paid at the end of the sale. So if it didn't go through, they weren't getting paid. So it was much better that I got somebody to actually make the calls and follow up, and actually somebody who was an extension of our team. So, that's really how I started. And I think, like I said, the success of it was learning how to market. Then it was really caring about the people and learning the systems and processes and having a great team behind me to successfully really take off in the short sale market. And when I did that, I also, through Women's Council of Realtors, I met so many great people, but I also met some people to do the REO properties. So I got a couple good accounts and started listing REO properties just from the connections and the networking that I did through Women's Council of Realtors. So that's really where it all began, Michele. And I just grew it from there. So,
well, and the thing is, what you brought up, which a lot of agents need to understand, it was relatable.
Yeah.
It was a relatable niche. You'd gone through a difficult time. You knew how to help other people going through a difficult time. You're also the manner and how you speak to people who are going through something like that, you know how to get them to the next chapter, right? Because that's a very emotional thing when you are losing your home. And those agents who may be watching this that have never experienced a housing crash, we're not in a housing crash. We went through that time. It was very difficult for a lot of people. But Kristin really understood quickly how to pivot, how to get a mentor, and how to find a niche.
Yeah.
And we were at the same company, kind of doing different paths. And then we would follow each other, which was always kind of fun. Kristin also is a very good planner. And I'll never forget all your colored pens and markers.
Yeah.
So you have this journey with the niche, right? What were the ups and downs of creating that funnel, basically? And you created two funnels out of it, right? Because you had the REO funnel and the short sale funnel. Yeah. So what were some of the peaks and valleys, challenges that maybe you came across when you were creating it and growing it?
That's a great question. So first of all, it was making sure that I was working with motivated sellers that actually wanted, the ones that were doing it for the right reasons and didn't have a bunch of money in the bank, that were honest about their situation. Because if they had a bunch of money in the bank and they were just doing it to get out underneath the sale, or, if they had homeowners association or condo association dues and they were years behind, those were next to impossible to get through. So I needed to make sure that I was really helping the ones that really, really needed the help and that were really, really honest with me. So, really quickly, I made sure that I put together a system and asked a lot of questions and made sure that that's the people that I was working with, because these are a lot harder, I felt, than a regular traditional real estate sale. So you could spend 50, 60, 70, 80 hours of your time for it not to go through. Right. And so it was really important that I was picking, the people to work with. And then I was educating them. I really cared about, the well-being of them as well. And then, so that was the first step. The second step was educating realtors, because realtors had no idea what they were doing, most of them through the short sale market. And they would just throw things on the market. They would not know how to do the short sale process. They would not know how to navigate. So I made sure, for example, sometimes it took 90 days or even longer to get a short sale approved. And then all of a sudden the buyer's gone and the agent didn't even know what they were doing to have the buyer engaged, right, through the end. So we required, inspections up front. We required a certain amount in escrow. We had certain.
You had those checklists. I remember, because I would see them if I had a buyer, and you had a very specific package that I believe you customized.
I did.
So that the fall through rate was minimized, because it could be substantial, and then you're starting all over because the banks were not that. This is an understatement of the year. The banks weren't that cooperative.
No, they weren't. And they were figuring it out themselves.
Right.
If they had a second mortgage, people didn't realize that it was the investors, and it might not have been, for example, if it were Bank of America, they could have just been servicing the loan, and it could have been a bunch of investors that were actually the ones who were attached to the loan. So there was so many things to navigate and to be really, really good at this. And I just figured it out.
Yeah, you really figured it out. And to the people that were able to utilize your services at that time, there was no one better, in my opinion, not just because we're friends. And I would refer clients over you because I didn't really want to do the short sales. Right. A lot of realtors did. And no, you do it.
Yeah, they did. And I was glad to, because I had a system and a process, and I knew how to make it work. And it would also make them look good to their clients because they knew that I knew what I was doing. So there was there were so many challenges along the way. I learned those challenges. Because I was so new in real estate, I figured it out. I figured the systems and the processes, and I figured out the marketing, and I just took off. And that's how I ended up starting and made a lot of money doing short sales and REO, real estate owned properties. And that is literally how my real estate career happened.
Well, and you did it in a down market. That's the piece, right? So people are complaining, oh, the market. Whoa, wait a second. There's opportunity in all types of markets and all types of economic situations. That's right. I really learned that from you. Yeah. Because Kristin is a mentor to me. She's also my friend, but she's a mentor to me. And when I was going through my very difficult time from 2008 to 2012, personal tsunami of sorts, Kristin was one of two very close friends of mine who really said, hey, I think you should focus on listing niches and stop working with buyers for a while. And I remember you would always say, you're really good with the buyers. But it's time for you to shift into something different that has a better ROI emotionally and then also financially. So she knows what she's talking about, which is why I wanted my friend on here today. So let me also ask you, I don't know. Oh, I guess Andy's home. Dogs are out of the room. How did having these niches segue you into your next ventures? Because you've done a lot of different things, right? Not just on the real estate side, but also on the health side. Yeah. You've had like parallel journeys with business and also self-care. So how do you think that allowed you to go to the next step and scale to the next level?
So once I was able to figure out the systems in real estate and really learn that, and I made enough money now to be able to hire people and scale the real estate business. So what I did from there is I would invest money back in, and I literally worked for 2 years in both the restaurant and the real estate. And then once I had enough money to leave the restaurant business, because I would actually just work, double shifts, work maybe 6 shifts a week. Then I took it to 5, then I took it to 4, then I took it to 3. So I just kept cutting back as I could, as I made the money, and then kept investing back. And then what I did is I grew. My next step was growing a team. So at the time, it was great. I actually took all the listings still, but on the buyer side, I was able to hire agents to work all of the buyers. So I would coach them, train them, mentor them, and teach them how to be successful working with buyers. And at one time, I had a team of 13 agents back in 2017. That was our best year.
Right.
That was really good. But then, my vision had changed. So going from wanting to have 100 agents and do all of that, my vision quickly changed to that's not what I wanted to do. I was involved with the first investment property where I had gotten, married along the way. And so my husband and I are partners. And I had been involved in the first investment property. I think it was around 2013 or 14. And that was just, by saving up and buying investment property and then fixing it up and then renting it out. So we never did like really, one that Mark had, like, actually, I think a couple that he might have flipped or what, not flipped, but, maybe had less than a year or whatever. Yeah. But for the most part, we would buy and hold. So that was the next step, was starting to buy a little bit of real estate ourselves, buying, duplex or, or a villa or whatever it is, and start renting them out, because now we have income coming in, right? So that was helping us, because I was bankrupt and broken and starting over, and I never borrowed any money to do that. So as I'm building, I didn't borrow money from the bank. I didn't borrow money from other people to get the business. All I did is work really, really, really hard and take the money that I made and invested it back in. So I knew what the vision was, and my vision changes year after year. And I think people need to realize that's okay. Mm-hmm. It will change. It'll change as you and I are both middle-aged women. It's not like, it's not like I'm in my 30s again, or even 40s, right? So right. I had to realize I didn't want to be back ever where I was financially when I started over with $700 to my name moving to Florida. That was not where I ever wanted to be again. So I was very cautious, but I also knew that I need to diversify, right? I needed to grow my income and not just the real estate industry. Because as we know right now, there are some realtors that are really struggling because of what's happened in the last 6 months. Right. So anyways, with that being said, our prices are still high here in South Florida, but the amount of homes that are selling are half. Okay. So half of what they did a year ago. So definitely the market is changing. So after that, building a team and everything. And then I started coaching, for Craig. Right. And I've been doing that for a long time, like 11 years. Yeah. Okay. And then after that, we started a virtual staffing company out of the Philippines. That was back in 2017, and it's done really well. And what happened there is that I started hiring virtual assistants for our team, and because I needed the leverage, and I couldn't afford to hire them locally at 35, 50, 60, whatever thousand. So I just got really good at hiring virtual, and I had 11 people at one time virtually working for us because I could leverage a lot more. I could give a lot better service. I could do a lot more things because of the amount of people I had. So I said, okay, great, let's open our own. And that's what we did. So we opened up and that was back in 2017. And then really got more into investing. So syndications. That's where you're going in with a group of people, and, it is passive. Okay. So you invest. Also, with, we started self-directed IRA. We bought our first Airbnb with a self-directed IRA in Tennessee. And then, we bought 2 more Airbnbs in Tennessee. And we also have done private money lending, stocks. We started during the pandemic. We started investing in stocks, and have done quite well in, diversifying there as well. And also with crypto, and crypto's been, that's a little bit more risky, right? But I talk to a lot of people that I trust that have done it and are in it. And, I bought low, quite low, not at 16,000, but low. Gotcha. Yeah. It's long-term. And then NFTs, which are, Tycoin, referral income, different things that mutual funds, we have mutual funds, then we have stocks that we don't, that we actually don't manage ourselves.
Right.
So there's 16 different kinds of investments and ways that we make income, either or, with so many different ways. Then we have short-term, long-term rentals, and many other things. So
right.
Anyways, by doing all of this, it doesn't matter what market we're in, Michele, because we're never having to worry about financially the real estate market.
Right. Because it's not that you're not uber focused on that one thing, which I'm talking about more and more, and getting on Clubhouse, which was a big, thing back in 2020. I've stayed on there, but that is one of the reasons I know I made a change in my real estate brokerage, was to start adding and diversifying to have other streams of income coming in. And so you have always inspired me to, add those different layers to what I'm doing. And I know when you coach people, I mean, this is, midlife for us. We take it pretty seriously. We're not like, I'm not my kids. And, I don't want to be opening doors the rest of my, life to earn an income. But real estate is a great income. And then if you layer it with other things, you start to see the light, you start to see the mailbox money a little bit, or whatever you want to call it. But you work hard. And that's the piece that I know about my friend Kristin, is how hard she works, but also how much due diligence she does on every project and every idea that she works on. And Kristin was the first person who really got me involved with getting a virtual assistant. I don't know if you remember that. And you kind of coached me on, how to hire. Like, what do I need to look for? I don't need to look for someone like me. I need someone to be the other person that does those things. So you know what you're talking about, and you walk the walk and talk the talk. And I think that's important for people to hear, because there's a lot of gurus out there, a lot of so-called coaches. And I think some of the advice is just either old school or it's just flat out bad.
Well, and the other thing is that you can really look at, Michele, is that a lot of these people that are so-called coaches these days or mentors have never done it themselves. So to teach it, to do it, and they've never done it themselves, you got to really be careful and watch out who you're hiring, making sure that the people who you want to be or who you want to utilize has done it and been successful in what you want, and is where they are, where they've gone is where you want to be. And I think that that's really important, because there's so many people out there. One thing about Craig that I loved is he was number1 worldwide with RE/MAX for many, 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 many years. He learned the marketing aspect, and he did, and so he was, and he still is today, even though he doesn't, work in real estate. He was selling over 500 homes a year when there were no real estate teams. I mean, he was one of the first ones to develop real estate teams and the guaranteed sale. So 3 years ago, we opened up our own brokerage in, Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. So we have, now our team is like very small, and we have our brokerage. So we have people that work within the brokerage, and then we have the remote staffing company, virtual assistants in the Philippines. And then we have all these different layers of different kinds of income. So we even do Section 8, Airbnbs, long-term rentals, syndications, self-directed IRAs, and so many other things that we've done over the years, So that's what it is today, is really, really building our wealth so that, we can retire and still live a good life. And today, we're traveling 2 weeks a month.
I know.
So we have a place in Boca and we have a place in Central Florida. So it pleases both myself and my husband. Boca's much faster pace. And then Sebring is on a lake. It's much, it's good for my mind, body, and soul. And I love it. We have our boat there and it's on a lake and it's very relaxing. So we're there, about, let's say, a week, a month,
Right.
and Boca a week, a month. And then we travel about 2 weeks a month. So the good thing is we can work from anywhere in the world. And when we took, 3 weeks off over the summer in Europe, we loved it because the time change, and then we could work when, we had our whole day, and then we could work for a couple hours at the end of the day. So,
oh yeah, girl. When I went to Europe, that was one of the things that was fantastic in 2018 and 2019 for the pandemic. I was like, oh, this is great. Like, this is fantastic. So I do know what you're talking about. You do take some great trips. You plan really beautiful trips for yourself. You do know the art of self-care in regard to you work hard, but you also work smart.
And I didn't always do that, because when I was working in the restaurant business, I was working 70, 80 hours. And in 10 of the years, I moved 14 times. Yeah. I worked so hard. I worked myself to death. And I did that at first in the real estate business, but I knew that I was going to need to do that to get to where I am today. Right. But I knew that I had a plan, I had a vision, and I built goals. And every quarter, we have, quarterly goals, yearly goals, monthly goals, and we're able to really look at those and change them accordingly to what we want to do. But then, I have anxiety. And it gets, as I get older, my anxiety gets worse. Yep. And so I have to focus on my mental health, and anxiety is a real thing for people that, I fortunately
I have it too. We've talked about this. Like, it's no joke.
It is no joke. And you have to, I feel, work on your mental and physical health, or you are not going to do well for others. You just cannot. And I didn't for a long time. I gained a ton of weight, and I didn't work out at all. I didn't focus on my mental health, my physical health, and it really showed. But once I started to now focus back on my mental and physical health, it's a game changer. And you cannot let that go. You cannot let that go. It is so important. And because of my anxiety, I have to work on that all the time. And that's what happens when I, for example, go to Hippocrates Health Institute, right? And I cleanse every couple months. And then I am in Sebring, 1 out of 2 weeks that I'm in Florida, because that helps with my mental health, and my anxiety.
Well, I'm glad you're bringing this up, because sometimes it becomes a dirty little secret, right? That I've said this for a long time in our real estate industry, that anxiety and depression, the two little kissing cousins, as I like to call them, is rampant.
It is.
And it's hard sometimes to talk about it. I remember when I shared with you, which I don't typically talk about other than with close friends, is that I've suffered from panic attacks. And I remember when I first came to you and I said, I've been dealing with panic disorder since I was about 15 and was diagnosed with it in college. And you're like, no. And I'm like, yeah, I just don't talk about it. It comes out as claustrophobia for me. So that creates anxiety for me, and it comes from a different place. And so, to your point, having the conversations with at least a close friend or someone who will understand and not go, well, I'll just hold your hand in that elevator. No, it's not that. It's more than that.
Well, and I didn't want to medicate, highly medicate. And I know you didn't either. And you did have, I know friends of mine that had panic attacks so bad that they felt like they were dying. Well, fortunately, I've never had it like that. Right. And all of us experience different. And the thing is if we can help, like me, this is how I feel. And you know this because you're a little bit more private than I am. I used to be more private, but now I'm extremely open, because if I can just help more people, that is my goal in life. Yeah. help more people, if it's to help more people know that it's okay to start over mid-age, it's okay to have no money, it's okay to do that. Because I could have gone down the wrong path.
Sure.
I could have gone down a really, really dark path because it was dark when I was starting over. But I chose a different path, right? And then if I can help people understand that and that they can start over and there is a way to do that, that makes me happy. If I can start people at being successful in real estate or business, because I don't even look at myself anymore as a as a realtor, because I'm not, working day to day in real estate, but I look at myself more today as an entrepreneur because I do have all of these other businesses and streams of income and investments and such. So it's very different than just a couple of years ago, even, right?
Right.
If I can help more people become successful and realize that you can do it, it's mindset, it's your body. Okay. If I can help more people, lose weight and become, better mentally and physically, if I can help people who are in depression, I've never really had the big depression. Of course, I've been depressed, but it's not been, a big part of my life. It's more the anxiety. But if I can help people talk about it, and it's okay to talk about that. It's okay if you were bankrupt. It's okay if you have to start over. It's okay with all of these things. We need to talk about them because look at all the people that have committed suicide that you never knew.
I know.
That, it is sad. Please reach out and talk to people. And it's okay to talk about.
It's okay to talk about it. And when we were talking a few weeks ago, and by the way, this is like a masterclass from Kristin, and I said, yeah, I'm a little more private about some things. And you said, yeah, but it's okay to talk about some of the things that been challenged with. And I said, you're right. I think I'll start doing that in a manner that I can handle, but also be a little more public about the anxiety and the panic that I've dealt with. And I'm 60 now, and I had to read that.
You look amazing.
Well, thanks. Well, the beach helps, but you pointed out, and you were so much there for me at 50 when I basically had to start over.
Yeah.
And so this is why we're like, the synergy with Kristin and I has always been amazing. And her vision and her strength as a person, not just a business person, is truly amazing. And I feel like, look, you started with this niche, you had a lot of other things that were going on, but then you got focused, and look where that helped you take off to, and then recognize how you could layer that on top of things, and then getting your personal health in order. Because I know you were challenged with that, and you have come so far. I'm just so proud of you.
Well, thank you. I think that everybody needs to know, and really the person that helped me a lot was Craig, because he used to make me tell my story on stage, and I was always embarrassed. And he's like, Kristin, you do not know how many people you help by telling it. And still, my husband today, Mark, is like, nobody wants to hear that. Or, he doesn't say it like that, but he's like, people don't want to hear about your story. Like, I don't want, whatever. But the thing is, and he's seen it, Mark's seen it, but how many people come up to me at a conference because they can relate, or I've given them hope or whatever. And I didn't want to share that. And when we were talking a few weeks ago, and the reason why I told you that, share more, because you will change lives the more you share. People can relate to you a lot better when you actually tell them where you were and where you're going. When we just talk about our successes, people don't understand that. And it's not real for them. If you talk about how you struggled so hard, and now you've gotten to where you are because you've worked so hard. Neither you nor I were given money and said, here's money to go out and be succul, or let me borrow money to put into my business. Neither of us did that. Neither of us. So we have both just worked extremely hard and have both had major struggles and have gotten through it. And because of working so hard is where we are today. And to be able to share that with everybody and to have people understand and relate to it, to me, if I can change lives because of it, I have no problem talking about it.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. That conversation, and I always say to Kristin, she knows this, I go, I always look at my ass because it's usually bruised after I have a conversation with her because she's like hitting me in the ass saying, go ahead, get this done, do this. It's with say that with love. But I got off the phone and I remember, I think a few weeks later, I said, oh, that was a game changer for me, Kristin, because I was in a bit of a funk.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, I turned 60 last year, just a few things just driving me a little nutty. And I was like, oh, you know what? Yeah, I got to get back in my lane. I got to get my zhuzh back. And yeah, I share my story on Clubhouse. It just seemed like the easier platform, but I'm starting to share it more and more now. And you know that, yeah, as someone that has dealt with people in my family that are alcoholics in recovery, and I've gone through that whole journey with them, being a mom of beautiful young adult women that I absolutely adore, you know, we all have a story to tell.
And mental health in your family. I mean, you have, the thing is, Michele, one thing with you is you have, just watching you, what you've gone through, I've seen it all. And just sharing that story and people being able to relate. And I think I told you when I first got into real estate and I saw you, I used to admire you so much because I see that you were doing so many different things than anybody else. You were in the newspaper, you were in the magazine, you were in this, you were in that. And I would go, man, who is this? Before I knew you, I'm like, man, she's good. She's different. And I've told you that, and you didn't know that that's how I felt.
I didn't.
But when you talk about your story and what you're comfortable with, and where you're at today, you change lives, and you've changed my life just listening to the stories that watching what you've gone through, and we are just so much stronger for everything, every issue that we've gone through. We just are so much stronger because of it. No,
so true. And you're so gracious with your time. And I'm so happy that you could be on here tonight. I don't want to do any like weird, funky ass questions because we could talk for hours, which we've done many a time. We just talk and talk and talk. And hopefully we'll see each other soon when you're back in Boca and not traveling. Where can everybody find you, Miss Kristin?
Yeah. So first of all, for remote staff company, you can go to Stamp Staff. Also, you can call at 561-221-2292. You can also reach out on social media, any social media sites, Kristin Stampini, KristinStampini, and message me on any social media site. On Facebook, it's actually Kristin Anderson Stampini is my personal page. Yeah. And I'll get back to you, you know. You guys are awesome. I love being on here. Thanks so much, Michele. I really appreciate it.
No, thank you for being on my 100th episode. Yay! Fantastic. And you know what? We're going to have you back. So stay tuned. Thanks again, my friend. And we will see everyone on the next episode of the Real Estate Reinvention Podcast. See ya.
Love you, girl.
Love you too.